Good day, viewers. Welcome to Agricult Media Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Adioshi Shola Anthony, and I will be having co-hosting with me for today's program will be Dr.
Francis.
And then I have a special guest in the house. As you all are aware, Agricult Media Podcast is an avenue for us to share ideas with farmers and all our followers on how profitable you can be with your business. And as you all know, we'll be bringing in different kinds of resource persons, and today is not going to be different. I'll be having with me today Mr. Odeleye Peters. He's going to be our resource person for today. I'm going to anchor the program and together with Dr. Bayo. So we're going to be asking him a series of questions. And if you also have questions that you would like to ask, please you can also type your questions on any platform you're watching us. Our resource person will find time to answer them and then we'll get them to you. So any question you might have as regards to our topic of today, and today we'll be dealing on better nutrition for optimal performance in poultry. We're going to be dwelling more in poultry today. And for our resource person, we're having a food and animal nutritionist. I'm going to give us a brief background to the person of Mr. Odeleye Peter. Mr. Odeleye Peter finished his degree from the Ladoke Akintola University of Technology in Ogbomoso, where he studied animal production and health. He proceeded to serve in Landmark University Commercial Farm, Omuaran, in Kwara State for his NYSC. While there, he was made the supervisor of the layer section of the farm, where he has to manage about 20,000 laying birds at that time. The farm manager of that farm compelled him to consult and educate the feed mill department after he had helped them solve the major issue in the feed mill as at that time. Afterwards, he worked in farms like Olawumi Farms in Osogbo before he was called for interview in the farm where he served previously. That's the Landmark University farm. He got a job as a nutritionist and food manager on that farm. He worked there for some time before he got his current job of a food nutritionist and a technical officer at Agro-Bamejin Nigeria Limited. And Agro-Bamejin Nigeria Limited happens to be one of the biggest suppliers of feed and micro-ingredients in Nigeria. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome on board to today's program, Mr. Odeleye Peters.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this platform, and I hope that we are going to have a good time together here today.
Yeah, you're welcome. We have so much to discuss within an hour, but we'll go as much as fast and as much as we can. But to our viewers too, if you have during the course of this talk, you have any questions, you have things that you want to ask, please you can just put it in the comment section of whatever platform you are watching from. We will get everything answered and sent to you. Now, for Mr. Peter,
Yes.
my first question to you is, what is the rationale behind food nutrition? Can't animals just be fed anything? Must there be anything special about what to feed them? But they're animals, so who will say they're animals? So what's the big deal? What's the big deal? Can't I just feed my animal and anything and get the same results? You know?
Okay. Thank you so much for that. I would say that the rationale behind feed nutrition, animal nutrition, is the aim of the farmers. What the farmers want to get at the end of the day. Truly, they are animals, and they can live in the wild. But because of our own intention, we want to make a certain earnings from them. We have to domesticate them and get something out of them. That is the reason why we have to be meticulous in whatsoever that we put into their mouth. Because whatsoever that goes in is what is going to come out at the end of the day. So if we feed them anything, we're going to get anything as our end product, as our result.
So that assumption is wrong for people to just think it's just animal. Just feed them anything.
It's very wrong. It's very wrong.
Let me chip in a little thing as well. I think one of the reasons why you can't just feed anything to confined animals is when animals are allowed to roam freely in the wild, by instinct, they know what to eat per time. But when they are restricted, they even if, despite the fact that their instinct is still working, they know what to eat per time. They are restricted. They can't actually have access to those things. Yes. And that's the reason why, as a farmer, you must make sure you present them with a balanced diet per time. So,
Okay. I think Dr. Vayo, I think Dr. Vayo has to be on this seat at a point.
Yes.
It's a very resource person. So, Dr. Vayo, I think let me give you time. Let me allow you to ask a question.
yeah, Mr. Peter, I would like to ask, when buying feed ingredients, because we have a lot of importers in the country that bring in feed materials like methionine, lysine, DCP, and when you look at in terms of quality, when buying feed ingredient, what should the farmer focus on? What should be a farmer? What should the farmer look out for when buying a feed ingredient?
Additives of all other food ingredients. The macro,
Like the micro and the macro.
oh, okay. For the macro, which
Even to put it better,
Okay.
you know, there are so many lay people outside there.
Yeah.
You will know what micro and macro is. So
Yeah.
I think the best way to answer that question will be, what are even macro and micro before we now delve into that question.
Yeah,
So for
yeah.
better understanding,
Yeah.
you know, if you answer that, then you can now trash.
Okay, for the macro ingredients, they include the major, so-called major ingredients that we all know: the maize, the soya, the wheat tofu, the limestone. Those are the so-called macro ingredients. And when we are considering that, the first mistake that many of us wish to make is that we want to be concerned about first the price. But most times you can get a cheap macro ingredient and the quality will be so bad. I bought maize supplied for me for one part of the country, this country, that I regret buying it when I was working at Landmark University.
Okay.
The price was maize is maize, but the price was so low.
Okay.
I was very happy that I got very cheap maize. But by the time it was supplied, I regret myself. But we've paid ahead already.
Okay.
So it's a problem for me. So when we are buying ingredients, we should not only focus on the price. We should first of all focus on what that ingredient is going to give me at the end of the day, which is the quality of the raw material. Then we should focus on the moisture content and the nutritional density of those.
Well, there's no how do you determine quality without you having it? You know, at the point of purchase, there's no way you can determine that. Okay, like example of the one you bought now.
Yeah.
There's no way you could have known that it is of a lower quality until you buy it.
Yeah.
So what can farmers do to guide against that?
Okay. I remember that incident triggered something my managers had at that time. We changed our procurement methodology.
Okay.
Then we used to just pay and they will supply.
Okay.
But thereafter, the supply, we test before we pay.
Okay.
So that's what we do then. So then immediately they are supplying before we offload from the truck.
Okay.
We first of all check the sample and check the moisture content. That's the first thing.
Okay.
So because the moisture content is going to determine the dry matter level, because when you are formulating feed, you are going to formulate feed based on the dry matter content. So we have to first of all check the moisture content. Once it's below a certain range, between 10 and 12, then we are good to go.
Okay.
But if it's exceeding like 15, 16, that means you cannot stop for long.
Okay.
So that is going to be a physical on-spot assessment.
Okay.
Then you can also check the weevil content of it. For example, for maize, you can check the weevil. You can check, in fact, the mold. You can check the depths in it.
Okay.
Those are the physical appraisal that you can do. Then you cannot take it further, taking a sample to the lab.
So at that point, you can either accept or reject. Okay.
You can either accept or reject.
Okay.
At that point.
Okay.
And that is what most of the companies do these days.
Okay.
Because most of the companies always take it further by taking sample to their lab, analyze before accepting or rejecting that sample.
Okay.
But for feed additives,
those are the micro ingredients.
For the macro ingredients, I think farmers can also guide against buying lesser quality of material by dealing with probably reputable suppliers.
That's when we are trusting a certain supplier.
Okay.
That is when a supplier has built a name and built a reputation over time in the industry.
Well, but I think it's also a major problem because when you have big players,
Yeah.
small scale farmers cannot even approach.
Yeah.
You have big players that buy like maybe 30 tons. And
Yeah,
that 30 tons
yeah.
now you need like 40, 50 million.
Yes.
And then you have a small scale farmer that just need like 2 tons. So you can't have that luxury of dealing
Fine.
with that kind of with that kind of supplier. So it still needs to depend on
Even small players like you mentioned might not be able to do an on-spot assessment like you mentioned earlier. What I feel, there are some physical examination that you can even do. By observing the material physically, you should be able to tell.
To some extent, you can or not. That's for majorly cereals. You cannot actually do that with soya bean meal.
okay.
Soya bean meal, it's
I want us to be as practical as possible because this program we are trying to enlighten farmers,
Yeah.
and then we're also trying to make them, at times farmers get some things, you sell them some items, and then maybe you sell them steel chicks. They come back, doctor, my this is this, my dog, my birds are not performed, they are not. And most of these problems are actually from this.
from the field. Yeah.
So let's say as practical as possible. Now, okay, if you want to go for maize, you want to buy maize, this is what you look out for.
That's for, yeah.
If you want to buy wheat sulfur, this is what you look out for. So that as the big players, they know what to go out for. The smaller players, they will know what to look at so that they don't lose money.
Yeah.
So can you give us some of those? We are still going to macro ingredients,
yeah.
but I want the farmers to get
The
as
macro.
much as detailed information as they can get from.
Yeah, the first one is the physical examination,
Okay.
where we look at the moisture content,
Okay.
how dry it is,
Okay.
is the material you are buying.
Okay.
Because feed material must be very dry. We are not feeding them moisture.
Okay.
That's the first one. Then we look at, is it dirty? Is it neat?
Okay.
How neat is the raw material? Then what are there contaminants? There's maize or soya bean that will have some iron inside it.
Okay.
Some will even have stones.
Stones, yeah.
I've seen the case of the bag of maize containing abundance of stones.
And they will wait for you. So you are buying maize together with the maize you are buying. So those are physical examinations that you can do. Then are there mold growth? For example, if you are buying a bag of GNC, if the GNC has been stored for long and possibly the GNC has a high level of mold in it, if you check the back, the sack,
Okay.
you will see that there is a level of mold on the sack.
Okay.
It looks like the Yoruba call it ewu.
Okay. Whitish.
Whitish.
Okay.
When you are seeing something like that, it means that GNC has been stored for long.
Okay.
And it has high level of oil in it.
Okay.
And it has grown. The acidity has set in.
Okay.
It has grown over the time. And when you bring in that kind of GNC into your food, you have welcomed already problem into your farm. So irrespective, even if the chicks you bought is of high quality, already you have welcomed a level of danger into your farm.
Okay.
So physical examination is the first thing you do as a farmer. Anybody can do that, be it a big farmer or a small farmer, a small player, anybody can do that. But if you now want to take it further, if you have the luxury of time and you are not under pressure, in which that is what I expect most of us to be doing.
Okay.
We should not just be at the spot when we did that material. We should not be running a skipper. You should be able to project ahead so that you will not be in tight corner. Now, if you have the luxury of time, you can take a sample. All these suppliers, they always want to sell. You can just request them, please give me a little sample, because I'm not under pressure. There's no tension for me.
Okay.
Because you have your time, you can take it to lab, analyze. When you have a sample, you can use that sample. Though the truth is that many of the suppliers in Nigeria will supply you the best sample.
And then supply you.
Supply you.
They'll supply you. Exactly.
So by the time they bring that,
Most of them would have had what they want to sell. And they must push it. So they will send what you get the result and then send something
So by the time they bring the full consignment, you still want to put it down and say, okay, since I'm not under pressure, can you give me some little time? I need to still check this sample again. So I have to confirm with what you sent. That is if you have the luxury of time.
Okay.
But on the other hand, for feed additives, it's a different ball game. For feed additives, more in fact, in this country, I can say that 95% of the feed additives that we use, in fact, if not 100%,
Okay.
is actually imported.
Okay.
That is not a good thing for our country. It's not a good.
Virtually everything.
Virtually everything, every feed additive, ranging from the feed additive for the amino acids to the minerals like DCP, MCP,
Okay.
to the enzyme, toxin binders, and all of that. Even vitamins and premix, we import all the raw materials.
Okay.
Now, we are only at that level. We are only constrained with the reputation of the supplier, the importer.
Okay.
Now, at that level, what we need to do is to some extent, we need to depend on the certificate of analysis being done and being supplied by the manufacturer to the supplier.
Okay.
So what these big companies used to do is that when they are making an inquiry from a feed additives supplier,
Okay.
they ask the certificate of analysis. What is the manufacturer saying about these additives?
Okay.
Okay. After getting that, you yourself as a farmer
Okay.
or as a feed miller, you can now also buy a little sample and analyze it. For example, DCP, you can do that for DCP.
Okay.
But you cannot do that for enzyme.
Yeah.
You will not be able to do that for toxin binder.
Okay.
Or you can do for things like metal.
Yes. So some of those ones you can still do.
Okay.
And unfortunately, we have limited opportunity of testing for vitamins and minerals in this country. I mean, the
I
micro
was going
ones.
to even say, do we have enough? You have
We don't
enough. You
really
have
have-
labs that can.
Ah,
We have
a
labs
good
that do
vitamin.
that.
Most of the feed additive companies that are into vitamin, they do send their sample outside the country to
Go and analyze.
go analyze.
So,
We are looking for the opportunity when we are going to have that kind of facility in this country, because that is what is in fact that is a big problem, because for the premixes we have a lot of issues in that area. Anybody can just come up and say,
Exactly.
premix manufacturer. By the time you get the content of that premix, you will see that there is virtually nothing in that premix, and it's very cheap in the market, and you see farmers running to it.
farmers are price sensitive.
Price sensitive. And when you want to determine the fertility and hatchability of breeder, for example,
Okay.
you have to consider the quality of vitamins and minerals that goes into into the premix. And at that level, farmers are limited with opportunity. They don't have the chance to test. So they are only depending on the quality that a premix factory is producing at a time.
Okay, sorry. And I just want to ask a follow-up question.
Okay, sir.
Now, you have some big players,
Okay.
but some big feed millers.
Okay.
I don't want to mention it
Yes.
for the purpose. You have some big farms.
Yes.
Now, do they also depend on the manufacturer's certificate of the analysis?
Yes.
Or don't they have an in-house way of determining that? Then because you have worked in many of these big places,
Yeah.
then if they don't, I think it's something that is worth
The
them,
government should actually look into that.
look into,
Yeah, it
so as
was.
to safeguard the industry.
Yeah, it was looking into by the government and even the private organizations that are into feed manufacturing in this country. Now, most of the feed players in this country, I must say that they are depending on the certificate of analysis,
Of the manufacturer.
and sometimes,
Okay.
with my own practical experience, sometimes during the manufacturing, during the production of premix, for example, in our own factory now, these big players do send a representative from their factory to come and supervise the premix manufacturing process,
Okay.
starting from weighing to how the vitamins are stored before being mixed, to how they mix it, to the weighing time, to the way they put the bagging, to the sealing, to the way it will be stored before it is being dispatched.
Okay.
So a representative from their factory used to come to our own factory, for example.
Okay.
So that is a way they are putting their mind at rest that, okay, at least we were there when they are producing
Yeah,
it.
so they can guarantee.
They can guarantee. So at least they saw how the vitamins were stored, on the temperature it was stored, how it was stored, how it was stacked. how it was opened, the quality on the expiry date, they were able to look at that, and they are able to okay, with if a raw vitamin was stored in this situation, then what will go into the premise should be good. Do you get it? That is what the big players used to do.
But what you just explained can only be done by big players. Now, what's the fate of small players in the industry?
Small players are actually depending
At the
on.
mercy of.
I don't want to say
And
that.
that's the reason why it is always good to, like I mentioned when we're trashing out micro ingredients,
Yes.
it's always good to deal with reputable brands.
Yeah.
But
Because they have their image to protect.
Yes.
Well, reputable brands is okay, but people that import, people that bring in many of these things,
Yes.
it's all about profit. You get?
Yeah.
Now when I bring in like 10 tons of methionine, I can sell 10 tons within the space of 1 month. So why do I need to bring in? And it's because of the price, it's very cheap. People
Very
will
cheap.
readily buy.
Yes.
So why do I need to bring in one of maybe 5 tons that will spend? That will take me 2 months. When I can sell 50 tons within a month and I'll make like 10 million. You
Yeah.
get?
Yes. Yes.
So most of them, importers, I don't think importers look at it from the aspect of a farmer. Importers are more interested in
Profit.
Profit, yeah.
Because you get most of them are interested in profit because you find out most of them are not going into this. They are not into farming.
Yeah. Farming.
You
Yeah.
get?
Yeah.
They are just profit. I want to bring in this and make
I'll
money.
make money,
You get?
yeah.
So I think the main players, the main users of these things, I think they need to be involved. If they are not involved, you will just be getting what you get in
Yes,
the market. What you get in the market that you buy.
You are right. I had a case like 2-3 years ago in our own factory.
Okay.
We brought in a particular product. Let me just mention DCP from a particular country, and it was imported to this country. But what we do in our own company is this: before we ship it in, we send it to our mother company in Israel for testing, analyzing. Before it gets to Nigeria, they will first of all send the certificate of analysis to us. The result they get, apart from what
From Israel.
from Israel, apart from what the manufacturer is saying. So we compare and contrast before we even receive it. So we are at least if it's not good, we reject it before it even before we ship it in. Okay. Now, having done all that, we are sure that what is coming in through our papa is okay. Now, we brought it in, we sold to big companies. And unfortunately, in this my dear country, we discovered that in a certain part of this country, I don't want to mention the part, that a bag of it, the sack was used to bag another substandard product DCP and sold to some farm.
Sold in the name of that product.
Oh, now when the query came from that part of the country in Jos, it came to our company, and I was so disturbed. I checked the bag. This is our bag. This is the brand we sell. In fact, the name of our company is still on it. And I was like, wow. It was investigated. We investigated, we bring in NAFDAC into it, we brought in S1 into it, so that we look at it together. And unfortunately, this product was sold in Ibadan, sent to Jos, and there's a calamity in Jos, and it is the name of our company. We have to find a way of solving that. Then we now have to analyze the product. When we bought the sample of the product, I remember we bought 10 bags of that from that person that they bought it from.
Yes.
The person did not even know that we were even investigating it. So we bought it and we analyzed it. So what we discovered in that DCP was it doesn't what's being called a DCP. And tons of it has been sold to the market.
Sold out because of the price.
Because of the price. In fact, they were even selling more than 50% lower than the price that they were selling.
Exactly. That's what happened.
And farmers will, first of all, consider
They will not
price.
tell you that yours is expensive.
Yeah, and they will tell us that. And you know, funny thing, it was now even much more confusing when the farmers tell us that we bought that same brand here, and it was cheaper than what you are selling, and it's the same brand. It became more confusing. I was like, we've done our diligence. So when you are buying, when farmers are buying, I prefer that they deal directly with feed additive company, not the roadside. Oh, I don't want to spoil somebody's business, but even the roadside reseller, they should buy from the reputable company and not adulterate it before selling, because they are also spoiling their own deal. Because that is the problem we have. There are a lot of products that have been adulterated. Fish meal has been adulterated. PCP has been adulterated. Even lysine in this same country.
Even some people carry some of our own products that we know about.
That you know about. So it's become a big problem. So, but I will always advise a farmer when you are buying, please trace it and be sure that you can hold this company by in their hand that you sold this to me. At this particular day, you have your invoice. There is a track record of it, and this is the issue I got. And even some farmers don't have record of where they bought from.
Yes. Many farmers.
So they cannot even trace it. They bought DCP2 bags here today, they bought another 2 bags there because of the price variation. And by the time their boys are using it in farm, the boys cannot, they don't even know which to switch. So it's always preferable to have a track record of the input you are bringing into your beds, because there's always a batch difference in feed additives and even the macro ingredient as well. There's always a batch difference. So when you are watching, you can easily say, okay, take for example, we imported the products some years back, and even the manufacturer himself detect there's an issue with it. They quickly send us a bill, and when we test it here, we've not even used that product. We ourselves have been suspecting. This is not the way this product should be. But by the time we got the feedback from them, they've also discovered that there's a factory error. And they will say, please record that product. So we have to trash that product here in Nigeria, did a video, the quantity, we have to weigh it. They saw the video, we send it back to them. And we make sure that we trash that product. Now, how many factories can do that? How many importers can do that?
They will push it to the market.
They have to push it to the market.
They will reback and push it to the market. That's a cheaper price.
So that's why when you are dealing with feed additives, you have to rely. Don't only first of all look at the price. Though truly the importers are making profit, but at the same time, importers that have done their diligence will make profit, and they can beat their chest that I have done my diligence. The product I'm selling to you may be expensive, but it's of good quality. You will not run into problem with it.
So the message to farmers is that when the price is too cheap to be true, be on the lookout. Run, take your yield.
Or don't look at price. Don't let price be your major parameter for buying. Because that money that you don't want to spend, you spend times 10 of it. By the time you have problem on your farm.
If you have a crisis of paralysis in the farm and it's traceable to the you will spend more money. You will use oral drugs to first of all to cater for it. Then that product that you don't want to buy, you will still go ahead and buy it. Okay, I have a lecturer of mine that called me like two nights ago. He said, "Wale, I want to buy that your DCP." I said, "Okay, you have to go to our marketing manager. That your DCP is what saved another research." So he got a report of it.
Okay.
So if we are able to, if you want to buy, trace where you are buying from. That
Buy
will
quality.
Buy quality.
Buy quality. Quality will give you peace of mind.
Peace of mind.
It will give you peace of mind. You know, I want you people to take one or two things from this podcast. The podcast, we might not be able to exhaust all our questions, but we want you to get as much information as you can get from it. You know, like he has explained, when you are buying maize, there are some things you should look out for. Don't just buy maize for the sake of buying maize. Don't say, a ton of maize there. This supplier is giving me at 500 package. This one is giving me at 700 package. I'll go. No, price should not be your major determinant. Look out for some of those things he has said. Check the moisture content. If you don't even know how to check the moisture content, how will you want to check the moisture content? If you don't know how to do it, look for people that can do it. Check, then deal with reputable people.
And even determine the dryness of the grain by breaking it. Just pick like 2 or 3 and break it.
Check it. Look at it physically. Is this dirty? Is this okay? You know, so that you don't go and buy problem. So most times, price should not determine
first. It should not be the first.
What you buy. But we all understand that the country is difficult at the moment, and everybody is trying to cut costs, because the truth also is cost of production has gone up, and the profit is very, very. In fact, the profit margin is thinning by the day. So I think we understand why some people do what they do. But you know, for you not to burn your fingers totally, you have to try and follow.
Let me quickly chip in this question before we What is the role of macro ingredients in mycotoxin challenge in poultry?
Ah, I'm very sure that we are not prepared for that mycotoxin aspect today. Because if we have to talk about it, we spend the whole day.
I understand why Dr. Bayo, but
Okay.
we have
It's a major challenge on most of
exactly we
Yeah.
get a lot of feedback on this
on this
particular
particular
issue.
challenge.
Yeah.
And then when you try to explain to some of them will tell you, I've been doing this for the past 20 years.
Oh,
I've
yes,
been doing
yes, yes.
Okay, you have been doing it for the past 20 years. Agreed. But this is the issue. But it's only few that will listen.
Yeah, it's few that will listen, and you know, funny thing. Sometimes when farmers say, "I've been doing this before you were born," I've been doing it before, like 30 years ago. I don't tell people that a knowledge that you did not update, it will soon be outdated. If you don't update, why do you update the applications on your phone? Because you want to be up to date. So what you do 30 years ago, feed is not just feed. It's also already obsolete. Feed is not just feed, it is science. Feed is science, and we must apply the science to it so as to get optimal performance. Now, when it comes to mycotoxin, this
It's a broad
is a
but-
broad, and I'm just
actually be a topic for another day, but I would still like you to speak for like
Yes,
10 minutes.
all right. For mycotoxin, I would say that most of the ingredients that we use in this part of the country comes with high level of mycotoxin, be it any form, be it aflatoxin, fuminosin, or aflatoxin, a lot.
Okay.
And one of the ones that affect us majorly in this part of the world is aflatoxin.
Okay.
Which one of the aflatoxin, B1, and the likes. But based on the fact that aflatoxin being the major issue, and it becomes more problematic when it has resulted into pale liver
Okay.
in the gut, on the liver, when the liver has already turned from a brownish red or reddish brown or whatever to a pale level. That's when it becomes a serious measure. But before it gets to that level, aflatoxin majorly comes from the feed ingredients. Majorly.
Soya,
Maize,
those are the
major ones. And there's a level of aflatoxin that poultry generally can withstand. That's 20 parts per million.
Okay, sorry. I want you to break it down.
Okay.
Now, but we are still going to continue along that line of thought.
Yes.
If I have aflatoxin in my feed, what are those physical things that I will see readily
within
within the floor for me to know that this is aflatoxin? For me to know that the problem I have is coming from my feed. The problem is not bed related, it's feed problem. So that people can actually learn, so that when they see, because one of the things we also do is we try to educate them. When you see this is what you do, this is what you do.
Yeah.
But we want to bring it to a larger audience. When you see some of these things, this is where the problem is coming from. How do you address it? How do you stem it?
See, on that aspect, I would prefer that, you see, when we are dealing with the issue of mycotoxin,
Okay.
I don't only want to tackle it from the nutritional angle alone.
Okay.
Because when I was tackling some issues in farm, I always want us to look at it holistically.
Holistically, okay.
There is an input of vet into mycotoxin issue.
Okay.
And there is a lot input of nutritionist into mycotoxin issue.
Okay.
Do you get it? From that aspect, I think a vet should be able to tell us some physical signs that you will see.
I think
then from my own side as a nutritionist, I'm not coming.
Okay.
Okay.
I think the work can just give us brief. What are those things that when you see them on your farm, this is where the problem is coming from. This is where the problem is.
Yeah, I think one of the major signs you see on the flock that will be a pointer to mycotoxin challenge is paralysis. When you begin to see paralysis, it can occur in a flock that is maybe as early as 1 week, 2 weeks of life. When you begin to see paralysis, it's a pointer. It might be a pointer to the fact that you are dealing with a mycotoxin challenge. But most times, farmers do make mistakes. They would think that the feed is actually a deficient of calcium, so they supply calcium. Meanwhile, they are not addressing the root cause, which is the mycotoxin challenge. So when you begin to see paralysis within flock, and if it is not timely addressed, it will lead to death. You begin to pick out new cases of paralysis every day, and you begin to record. And it will even lead to immunosuppression within the flock. It will cause massive immunosuppression, and they'll be susceptible to a lot of.
Now, let me now comment
Okay.
nutritionally.
Okay.
One of the reasons why you can see paralysis is because aflatoxin, for example, has a way of affecting the liver and at the same time bone formation.
Okay.
So when that is the skeletal structure has been affected by the toxin coming from the aflatoxin, then it's affect that's when you start seeing paralysis. You get so mycotoxin has a way of affecting the skeletal structure, the reproductive physiology, digestive system, even immunity.
Even for the digestive system, one of the major impacts is on the liver.
Yeah.
It affects the uptake of calcium and phosphorus from the liver. So once you have that challenge, in no time you begin to see paralysis within the flock.
So sometimes it's not. That's why I say when you look at issues in the farm, it should not be looked at from one angle.
Okay.
So when you begin to see paralysis, the first thing that people think of phosphorus and calcium. It may not be.
That's the issue most of the time. They
It
say,
will not
I
be.
want to buy calcium.
Yes.
Which calcium cannot buy? Which calcium? Then you know, relax. What is the problem? By the time you now interview them, you have few questions, you will discover that's not where your problem is coming from. But an average farmer will know, rather than calcium, I want to buy calcium. Which one is,
So if we have to look at it, we way of dealing with if we have already established that it is aflatoxin issue, how do we solve it? Many of the time we address it by using toxin binder, which should be the feed all the time. But sometimes I do prefer that we handle it from up and down. Now, before it results to toxins, it has grown from fungus to mold. Then mold has now released the toxin
into the system.
And the toxin effect is what you're now treating. It's now causing the havoc. So now it's just like saying you want to kill cockroach in your house. A cockroach has laid some eggs. So when you kill the hardest cockroach, the eggs, it's a matter of time. They will still invade again. Do you get that now? So now, if we are dealing with toxins, you are treating with toxin binder, which is good, which is very, very okay. It will suppress the level and all that. But with no time, when you are still, the birds are still eating that food that still has the aflatoxin. So you've treated what is there with toxin binder, and you are still loading them. So how do we handle that? So because you will not have to go and throw away the stock of maize, the stock of soya that we have in the warehouse. You will not have to do. You still have to feed them. That's why sometimes I do advise that when you are treating aflatoxin matter, treat it from head and down. Take care of the toxin, take care of the mold. That is where you see a professional nutritionist when they are formulating, they bring in a mold inhibitor into the feed because they are not sure of the level of mold in the feed, in the raw material. No, earlier I was talking about the signs of mold on the bags. But when you have poured your maize inside a silo, you may not see the signs may be there. So that's why you see. Okay, I was listening to a friend of mine in the US recently. He was saying that he would never produce food without using a mold inhibitor. He said, irrespective of what the farmer has supplied, I will still want to treat the mold because they know the effect of the mold on the birds and the effect of that aflatoxin on the meat quality and the egg quality, which we also go back to what we eat at the end of the day. So we should treat it from up and down. So while we are also taking the oral medications of trying to sustain the liver tonic and all that, we are only trying to help the liver to survive, but we are still feeding the contaminated feed. So when we are still feeding the contaminated feed, try to put a body inhibitor. Exposed to the assault. So it's not always good to only treat it with toxin binder. Sometimes we change toxin binder. This toxin binder is not good. That one is not good. That one is not good.
Even at times, farmer will add multiple toxin. They will add clay beans and
yes.
Just to
address. It will be addressed. But the raw material you are still using is still there.
But there is a school of thought and a school of practice, if I may say. They believe that when I have that kind of problem, it has been established that what I have is I have aflatoxin, I have it present in the feed. That the ideal thing to do is fine. Let's say I should get new feed.
Yes.
Assuming I have the old feed concern, I should get new
Yes.
feed,
Yes.
and then mix the old feed with the new feed at a certain percentage,
Okay.
so that over time I can dilute that. I can dilute what is there and
Okay.
not totally waste that feed.
Yeah, it's a good one, but you have to test the two.
Because with this explanation now too, what the new feed even has.
The reason why some of this suggestion is made to farmers is because some of these feed ingredients like toxin binder and mold inhibitor are not readily accessible in remote places. Even in cities like let me say outside Ibadan. You know, Ibadan is the hub of poultry activities in Nigeria. Some farmers do find it very difficult to access some of these things. Okay, they want to buy modern inhibitor, they go from places to places and they won't be able to get.
Yes.
No, I'm even talking about what I'm even my reference is even I'm even making reference to
The
even
practice.
people that buy
Yeah.
from feed mill, that buy finished feed. You get. They say, okay, this one has mold, this one has toxin. Okay, just let me get new one and let me get the quantity of new one and then mix up
Yes, yes.
the what's even the new one. That's what you're running away from.
Yes.
And even at times you will end up buying the same batch of
Exactly.
yeah.
So it's a multifaceted problem.
That's why I say mycotoxin, we cannot finish it today.
I can it's actually
It's broad.
very broad.
Yeah.